Once again, the politically sensitive matter of fiscal injustice raised by Karnataka Congress before the Lok Sabha elections of 2024 is all set to become a flashpoint between the centre and states. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has now written to his counterparts in 8 states, including those ruled by NDA, raising concerns over the devolution of taxes by the centre, claiming that states like Karnataka that perform well in terms of GSDP are being penalised by the centre for their performance and that they receive disproportionately lower tax allocations by the centre. Siddaramaiah has also said that he has invited the chief ministers of these states to a conclave in Bengaluru to collectively deliberate on the issue of fiscal justice. He has said that the Finance Commission needs to make a directional shift and create incentives for growth and better tax and also be just towards states. Now, DMK has also supported Siddaramaiah's claims, something that the centre has repeatedly dismissed as misleading, imaginary and even mischievous. Today, BJP's Amit Malviya responded to Siddaramaiah's claim, saying that during the Congress-led UPA, the percentage of revenue shared with states as recommended by the 13th Finance Commission was a mere 32%. Well, we know that states now generate around 40% of the revenue and bear around 60% of the expenditure. The Finance Commission and its recommendations are meant to assess this imbalance and propose a fair sharing mechanism. But how justified are the claims of Siddaramaiah that rich states are being penalised for their performance? Is this empty rhetoric to stir emotions without really addressing facts? And what are the measures that need to be implemented by the centre after discussing with states, of course, to uphold principles of fiscal federalism? We'll be joined by a panel of guests, but first, let's look at what the DMK spokesperson said on this controversy.
Joining us now, DMK spokesperson Dr. Hafizullah. Doctor, thank you very much for your time. Karnataka Chief Minister has written to several Chief Ministers alleging that the central government is penalizing states that perform well economically in terms of the devolution of taxes, and he has asked for a conclave in Bengaluru to discuss this. How does the DMK look at this?
See, this has been an important and core issue of the political campaign from the DMK side in the 2024 election. From our leaders taking the issue where Tamil Nadu gives 1 rupee and we get 29 paise in return. So that slogan got connected with the people of Tamil Nadu, which is a fact that time and again the union government is betraying the states which are doing well when it comes to tax devolution. We have filed a case in the Supreme Court regarding the fund released during the flood, which wasn't done properly. This government is very, very clear and very clever in terms of devolution of funds. That is why, rather than including components in the GST, which mandates the union government to devolve funds as per the recommendations of the Finance Commission. So they have taken a shortcut or a parallel route by invoking cess on certain items. So for the cess, there are no set principles now how
Sharing.
it has to be divided among the states. So these two are the key problems that the state government is facing, Tamil Nadu is facing, and more so the states which are opposing the BJP. So in such a scenario, we need to sit and chart a strategy to counter this. There is a road tax. You know, UP gets a X share and Tamil Nadu gets a little share. There is no question of fiscal federalism which the constitution mandates the union government to follow.
Okay, joining us now is Shankar Guha, who's spokesperson of the Congress Party. We have GS Prashant, who's spokesperson of the BJP. We have Professor Santosh Mehrotra, senior economist. Also, he was with JNU. We have Sandeep Shastri, who's a political analyst and also coordinator of Lokniti Network. Thank you all of you for joining me on this show. To you first, Mr. Guha. Well, we saw that the BJP has reacted to this in the past. The centre has maintained that Karnataka has received a fair, higher share of taxes since 2014 compared to what it got during the UPA time. If you look at BJP's Amit Malviya's tweets, he's also saying that the Congress-led UPA government in 2013 suggested a reduction in Karnataka's share of tax allocation, and it came down to 3.73%. In fact, this was something that all southern states had to also go through, and now Mr. Siddaramaiah is blaming something that his government only decided. I mean, like, you know, how do you look at the Finance Commission's role, because that has been something that the country has seen for several years. So perhaps there is time for review, but this is also something that your government has done when it was in power.
See, I saw what Mr. Malviya said and what my friend in BJP, he also reiterated the same thing. He said during the UPA government, something like this happened. But you cannot compare the budget then and the budget that is now, today. As per today's requirements, what is going on today, it has gone up by many folds. So it cannot be a comparison. Now, what the Chief Minister is asking, he is not just talking about Congress-led governments. He has also invited BJP or India governments. What is he asking? He is asking, along with equity, proper share for development. Now, to ask during the drought, we had to knock the doors of the Supreme Court. Now, what sort of, is it just in doing it? Please tell me. And for 4,30,000 crores that the state is giving, what are we getting? Just 55,000 crores. Now, it's a very large picture. There is no political blame game. Primarily, what the Chief Minister is looking at here is the development of the state, the development of every Kannadiga, the development of every citizen of the state.
Okay.
Keeping that in mind, going back by what happened previously, where they reduced the share by 1%. So we don't want something like that to happen. Now, keeping that in mind, he has invited all the chief ministers of 8 states to discuss, deliberate, and then come up with come up in unison to present to the union government to solve this issue.
Prashant,
we are here to work things out and work with the union.
Your party is at the center. How do you ensure that states don't feel shortchanged when it comes to distribution of resources? Because there could always be political differences between the union government and the opposition ruled states, but there are also genuine issues that need to be considered because there's an old data that is being reviewed. We need the census that needs to be done. More states have to be industrialized. So clearly, do you think your party at the center is trying to do all of that to address this feeling of being shortchanged?
Firstly, as BJP, we believe that the nation comes first and that the economic progress of the country drives all the states forward. Because when we were in the fragile 5 during the UPA era, we are in the top 5 now and we are set to become the world's 3rd largest economy by 2030. How is it happening? Because of a host of initiatives that the central government has taken. And coming to this devolution of taxes, to say that we are shortchanging, BJP does not indulge in this petty politics of shortchanging a particular state just because opposition is ruling there. Definitely not, because if you look at data historically also, in the last 10 years, the devolution of taxes has gone up. And the Congress spokesperson is talking about the budget size being lower. Whether the budget size was lower or higher, agreed, budget was 15 lakh crores in 2014. Now it is 48 lakh crores, which means the economy has done well. Which means at a 15 lakh crore budget, Congress-led UPA government was only, the devolution was 32%. Now, on a 48 lakh crore budget, the devolution is 42%. That's point number 1. And they also need to understand how the corporate taxes get collected. Most of the, financial companies, for example, most of the banks are headquartered in Mumbai, which means the income tax paid by them for the global operations will be collected as shown in the state of Maharashtra. Similarly, if you take Bangalore, one of the biggest tech companies, Wipro and Infosys, are headquartered in Bangalore, and the taxes paid by them globally on their global income is paid by Infosys, which will be recorded as tax collected from the state of Karnataka. So therefore, it's not that entire income of Infosys is getting generated from Karnataka alone, and not that the entire income of ICICI Bank or SBI or say Reliance is getting generated from that state alone.
Okay.
So therefore,
so that's a very valid point. Let me get in the experts. Prashant, I'll come back to you.
Global income.
Yes, Professor Mehrotra, southern states like Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu have often said that Finance Commission's decision to base population metrics on the 2011 census rather than 1971 census as done previously is in some ways penalizing them. We know that income distance is also one of the parameters. But sir, when we look at the country as a whole, and when we know that there are some states which are rich, and that is because of many other factors which include historically made right decisions, climate and several other, even proximity to metros. Do you think that it would be fair on part of the richer states to make this argument that they will not be bearing the brunt for smaller states, because we live in an interconnected economy, and something that the bigger states, richer states produce is also being consumed by the poorer states, and in fact it's the migrants who are also building all that great infrastructure that the developed states see. So how do you see the government addressing this problem?
Well, I have to bring up some of the structural issues. You raised one of the structural issues, but let me bring up some of the other ones so that your audience can understand the background to this crisis in fiscal federalism that we've reached. Because let us fully appreciate the fact that we have a union government currently in place for the last 10 years, which has not truly believed very much in fiscal federalism. The 42% versus 32% factually is correct, but that was a recommendation of the Finance Commission, and the government had no choice but to. The fact of the matter is, the structural problems are the following. Firstly, the growth rate of the economy in the last 10 years has come down to 5.8%. These issues were not being raised in the preceding 10 years under the UPA, primarily because the growth rate then was 2 percentage points higher at 7.8%. This is one major reason why states are feeling a pinch. And the second reason why the states are feeling a pinch, and this is again, I bring up a structural issue, has arisen from the middle of 2017, which is that July 2017, the GST was introduced. Now, what happened as a result of the GST? Let's just keep that in mind. 17 taxes of both the center and the states, many of them those of the states, were subsumed into the goods and services tax, and then those are now being collected at the center, and then they get divided. The fact that the states have lost a vast majority of the sources, independent source of revenue, on account of this good tax. No question, it had to be done. It's a badly designed and poorly implemented. That's a different matter. That's a different issue.
Right.
The fact of the matter is the country needed it. However, because it's a badly designed, it has caused its own problem. And the foundational issue arising from the GST, your readers or listeners must understand, is that the southern and western states, which are the ones which are complaining, and in some ways rightly so, in the GST design, the GST is such that the producer states are the ones who are not benefiting from the GST so much as the consuming states. The northern and the eastern states are the consuming states. So they, as a result of the way the GST design is, the devolution of funds that takes place from the GST, it's the consuming states which are. So we've got that's a second structural problem.
Right.
But listen, I want to take your.
Bring out more facts.
Let me just finish, sir. I'm finishing, sir.
Yes, sir.
May I, sir? May I, sir? I'm finishing.
Yes, sir, I'll have to just get into
interrupt you.
Professor Shastri, because Mamata Banerjee is making some important statements. Professor Shastri, how do you see the politics of this? Quick comment, because clearly this time Siddaramaiah has also written to Maharashtra and Gujarat, which are not really ruled by opposition.
I think our economist friend has raised the right economic issues. Looking at it from a political lens, let me remind all the viewers that in the mid-1980s, the then Chief Minister of Karnataka, Ramakrishna Hegde, had raised a similar set of issues and brought together several chief ministers at that point of time against the then Congress government on exactly the same sets of issues. So in a sense, Karnataka Chief Minister is taking it up once again what his predecessor had done 40 years ago. But I think the important point, Vasudha, is this. We have, as the part of this debate, mixed up multiple issues to defend the point that we wish to take. I think there are several separate issues. One is raising of revenues and how the rationalization of that revenues which are raised in terms of their distribution. Yes, the Finance Commission has its yardstick. Yes, people feel that there should be greater transparency in that process. And I think that is the focus of the debate.
Right.
To bring into that discussion the spending patterns in the states, to bring into that discussion drought relief, how much we got. I think we are mixing issues which should not be mixed.
Right.
We are talking about how revenues raised from the different states are actually being distributed, and that needs to be the focus of the discussion.
Right.
Also, Vasudha, I think it's important for us when we say India first, it's important to remember that wherever we are economically is not because of central government or state government, but
Right.
of the country as a whole.
Absolutely.
So let's get away from this politics of defending where our government is in power
Right.
or some other government.
That's really well said. Thank you, Professor Shastri. Thank you, Professor Mehrotra. Thank you, Prashant. Thank you, Mr. Guha, for joining me on this broadcast. We'll have to